Thank you for saving my life. You are family now.
The truck wasn't slowing down. Zara had 3 seconds to decide: let the woman in the hanbok die, or throw herself into the path of 2 tons of screaming metal. She chose wrong, or maybe she chose right, because the moment she yanked that stranger from death's grip, the mafia boss arrived on his motorcycle, looked at her bleeding and broken on the pavement, and his mother spoke 4 words that would destroy her entire life. "You are family now." What Zara didn't know was that in Seoul's underworld, family isn't a gift, it's a death sentence, and she'd just been claimed by the most dangerous woman in Korea. Welcome to Afro K-Drama. Like, share, and subscribe for more. The Seoul summer heat pressed down like a weight as Zara Mensah balanced 3 plates along her arm, weaving between cramped tables at the Blue Moon Cafe. Sweat dampened her hairline despite the ancient air conditioner rattling overhead. She'd been in Korea for 2 years now, working double shifts to send money home to Accra while her younger sister finished medical school. "Order up," Mrs. Han called from the kitchen, her voice sharp enough to cut through the lunch rush chaos. Zara grabbed the next tray and pushed through the door just as the cafe bell chimed. She glanced up out of habit and nearly dropped everything. The woman who entered moved like royalty despite her simple hanbok. Silver hair pulled back in an elegant knot, posture straight as a blade, eyes that seemed to catalog every detail of the shabby cafe in seconds. Behind her, 2 men in dark suits flanked the entrance, their presence turning the small space oppressive. "Welcome," Zara said in careful Korean, bowing slightly. "Please sit anywhere." The woman's gaze landed on her, something flickering in those sharp eyes before she nodded and chose a corner booth. Zara served her other tables first, giving herself time to calm her suddenly racing heart. Something about that woman set every instinct on edge. When she finally approached with a menu, the woman was staring out the window at the crowded street beyond. "What do you recommend?" Her Korean was crisp, educated, the accent of old Seoul money. "The bibimbap is fresh today. The kimchi jjigae is also very good." "You're not Korean." It wasn't a question. "No, ma'am. I'm from Ghana." The woman's expression softened fractionally. "Long way from home." "Yes, ma'am." "The bibimbap, then." "And green tea." Zara bowed and retreated, feeling those eyes follow her across the room. She put in the order and busied herself with other customers, trying to ignore the prickling awareness at the base of her neck. 20 minutes later, she was clearing table 4 when shouting erupted outside. Tires squealed. Someone screamed. Zara's head snapped toward the window just as the entire cafe seemed to hold its breath. A delivery truck careened down the narrow street, smoke pouring from its hood. The driver slumped over the wheel. It wasn't slowing, wasn't stopping, and it was heading straight for the parked black sedan outside the cafe. The woman in the hanbok stood near the car, speaking to one of her guards. She hadn't seen it. Wouldn't see it in time. Zara didn't think. She just moved. She burst through the cafe door and sprinted across the sidewalk. "Move." The word ripped from her throat in English, then Korean. "Get back." The woman turned, confused. The truck was 5 seconds away. 3. Zara slammed into her, arms wrapping around the older woman's waist as they both crashed onto the pavement. Pain exploded through Zara's shoulder and hip as they rolled. Glass shattered. Metal screamed. The impact sent shockwaves through the ground. For a moment, everything was smoke and ringing ears and the taste of blood in Zara's mouth. Then hands were pulling at her, voices shouting in rapid Korean too fast for her to follow. "Are you hurt? Can you hear me?" Zara blinked up at one of the suited men, his face pale with shock. She tried to sit up and gasped at the fire shooting through her shoulder. "I'm okay," she managed. The woman. "Is she okay?" "I'm fine." The voice came from beside her, shaking but strong. "Child, are you injured?" Zara turned her head to find the woman sitting up, hanbok torn and dusty, a cut above her eyebrow bleeding sluggishly. "But alive. Very much alive. Just bruised, I think." "You saved my life." The woman stared at her with something close to wonder. You threw yourself at a moving truck to save a stranger. I saw you were in danger. I just reacted. More shouting. The roar of a motorcycle engine cutting through the chaos. Zara watched as a man in black leather swung off the bike and strode toward them with the kind of presence that made people instinctively move aside. He was tall for a Korean man, broad-shouldered, with a face that belonged on magazine covers except for the cold fury burning in his dark eyes. Those eyes swept the scene, landed on the woman, and something in his expression cracked. Mother. The single word carried a world of fear. He dropped to his knees beside her, hands hovering as if afraid to touch, to confirm she was real and whole. The woman reached up and cupped his face. I'm fine, Jihoon. Thanks to this young woman. Now those eyes turned to Zara, and she forgot how to breathe. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp jaw, full lips pressed into a grim line, and those eyes that seemed to see straight through her. You're bleeding. His voice was low, controlled, but she heard the tremor underneath. It's nothing. Your arm is scraped raw. Zara looked down. Her sleeve was torn, blood seeping through the fabric. She'd been too full of adrenaline to notice. I've had worse. One of the suited men appeared with a first aid kit. Jihoon took it without looking away from her and opened it with practiced efficiency. What's your name? He asked, pulling out antiseptic wipes. Zara Mensah. I'm going to clean this. It will sting. I can do it myself. His eyes met hers. Please. Let me. Something in his tone, in the way he held himself so carefully still, made her nod. She held out her arm and tried not to flinch when he began wiping away the blood. His touch was gentle, almost reverent, as if she were made of something precious that might break. It sent warmth curling through her stomach that had nothing to do with pain. You work at the cafe, his mother said, watching them with keen interest. Yes, ma'am. How long have you been in Seoul? 2 years. Family? My sister is in Ghana, studying medicine. The woman nodded slowly, then did something that made the suited men around them go rigid with shock. She reached out and took Zara's free hand in both of hers. You saved my life without hesitation, without thought for your own safety. That speaks to who you are. Her grip tightened. I am Park Minji. This is my son, Kang Jihoon. And from this moment, you are under our protection. Zara blinked. I don't understand. She means, Jihoon said quietly, still tending to her wounds, that you're part of our family now. Whether you want to be or not. I don't need protection. I just did what anyone would do. No. His mother's voice turned sharp. Most people would have screamed and run. You ran toward danger. For a stranger. Her eyes shone with unshed tears. That makes you extraordinary. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police. Ambulance. The growing crowd pressed closer, phones out, recording everything. Jihoon's jaw tightened as he finished bandaging Zara's arm. We need to leave before this becomes more complicated. He stood and offered her his hand. Can you walk? Of course I can walk. I'm fine. You're limping. Zara looked down. Her right leg was scraped and bleeding through her jeans. When had that happened? It's just a scratch. You keep saying that. Jihoon's lips twitched, almost a smile. I'm beginning to think you have a very high pain tolerance or a very low sense of self-preservation. Maybe both. This time he did smile, brief and startling. It transformed his face from coldly handsome to breathtaking. Zara's heart did something complicated in her chest. Come with us, his mother said, struggling to her feet. Immediately, her son was there, steadying her. Let us take you to a proper hospital. Make sure you're truly unharmed. I can't. My shift isn't over. Mrs. Han will be upset if I leave. I'll handle Mrs. Han, Minji said with the absolute certainty of someone used to being obeyed. Your health is more important than serving lunch. Zara wanted to argue. Needed to argue. But her head was starting to pound and her shoulder throbbed with every breath. Maybe sitting down for a few minutes wouldn't hurt. Okay, but just for a quick check. Then I need to come back. Of course. Minji's smile was knowing, like she could see right through the lie. The black sedan was totaled, crushed where the truck had plowed into it. Jihoon guided them to his motorcycle instead, pulling off his jacket and draping it around Zara's shoulders despite her protests. "You're in shock. You need to stay warm." The jacket smelled like leather and something spicy that made her dizzy. Or maybe that was the shock. She let him help her onto the back of the bike, hyper-aware of everywhere their bodies touched. "Hold on," he said, starting the engine. Zara wrapped her arms around his waist, feeling the solid muscle beneath his shirt. He was warm and steady, and when the bike roared to life, she found herself pressing closer, her cheek against his back. They wove through Seoul traffic with the kind of reckless precision that should have terrified her but instead felt oddly safe. Like he'd done this 1,000 times and knew exactly how far he could push without breaking. The hospital was private, exclusive, the kind of place that didn't have waiting rooms because people like them didn't wait. Nurses descended immediately, ushering Zara into an examination room while Jihoon spoke in rapid Korean to someone who was clearly in charge. A doctor examined her thoroughly, cleaning wounds, checking for broken bones, asking questions in accented English when her Korean faltered. "Nothing serious. Bruised ribs, scraped skin, mild shock. She'd be sore tomorrow, but fine." When she emerged, bandaged and exhausted, Jihoon was waiting in the hallway. He'd changed into a black button-down that made his shoulders look even broader, hair pushed back from his face. He looked up from his phone when she approached, and something in his expression made her steps falter. "How's your mother?" Zara asked. "Stubborn. Refusing to stay overnight for observation." His mouth quirked. "She's demanding to see you." "Me? Why?" "Because she's Park Minji, and when she wants something, the universe tends to comply." He led her to a private room where his mother sat in a hospital bed, looking annoyed at the 4 in her arm. But when she saw Zara, her face softened. "Come. Sit." She patted the chair beside the bed. "We need to talk." Zara sat, suddenly nervous. This whole situation felt surreal, like she'd stepped into someone else's life. "That truck was not an accident," Minji said without preamble. "The brakes were tampered with. The driver was paid to aim for my car." Zara's stomach dropped. "Someone tried to kill you?" "Someone tried to send my son a message. That I'm vulnerable. That he has weaknesses they can exploit." Minji's eyes hardened. "But they failed. Because of you. I don't understand. Why would anyone want to hurt you?" Jihoon stepped forward from where he'd been leaning against the wall. "Because my family is involved in business that makes enemies. And those enemies occasionally decide that violence is the best negotiation tactic." The way he said business made Zara's skin prickle. She'd heard stories, whispers about powerful families in Seoul who operated outside the law, who controlled territory and trade through methods the police couldn't touch. "You're Yakuza," she whispered. "Or the Korean equivalent." "We prefer to think of it as alternative business management," Jihoon said dryly. "But yes. My family's empire is built on loyalty, territory, and occasionally morally gray decision-making." Zara should have been terrified. Should have run. Instead, she found herself fascinated by the way he held himself, the careful control that suggested violence coiled beneath expensive clothes. "What does this have to do with me?" she asked. "Everything." Minji reached out and took her hand again. "You saved my life. In my world, that creates a debt that cannot be repaid with simple gratitude. You're connected to us now. Whether we want it or not, my enemies will see you as leverage." Zara pulled her hand free, heart racing. No, I'm just a waitress. Nobody important. They won't care about me." "They will." Jihoon's voice was flat, certain. Because someone recorded the whole thing on their phone. By now, every organization in Seoul knows that Park Minji's son looked at you like you hung the moon while bandaging your wounds. They know you're important to us. But I'm not. We just met. Doesn't matter. He moved closer, and Zara had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "Perception is reality in my world. And the perception is that you matter to me. That makes you a target." Fear lanced through her, cold and sharp. "So, what am I supposed to do?" "Let us protect you," Minji said gently. Come stay at our home until we've neutralized the threat. A few days, maybe a week. I can't just abandon my life. I have work, bills, responsibilities. We'll take care of all of it. Jihoon crouched so they were eye level, and Zara's breath caught at the intensity in his gaze. I know this is terrifying. I know you didn't ask for any of this. But please, let me keep you safe. There was something raw in his voice, a vulnerability that didn't match his dangerous reputation. Like he was asking for himself, not just for duty. 1 week, Zara heard herself say. Then I go back to my normal life. 1 week, he agreed. But they both knew it was a lie. The Park family estate sat in the hills overlooking Seoul, surrounded by walls and guards and the kind of security that made airports look casual. Zara stared out the car window as they passed through gate after gate, each one closing behind them with ominous finality. This is where you live? She asked Jihoon, who'd insisted on driving her himself. This is where my mother lives. I have an apartment in Gangnam. But you're staying here. Because of the threat. Because of you. The admission made something flutter in Zara's chest. She tried to ignore it. Tried to focus on the practical reality that she was essentially in protective custody with a crime family. This was temporary. Not real. Definitely not the beginning of something dangerous and complicated. The house itself was traditional Korean architecture blended with modern security, all clean lines and hidden cameras. A woman in her 50s greeted them at the door, bowing to Jihoon before turning curious eyes to Zara. This is Mrs. Choi, Jihoon said. She manages the household. Anything you need, ask her. Mrs. Choi's smile was warm despite Zara's dusty clothes and bandaged limbs. Welcome, Miss Mensah. Your room is prepared. Would you like to rest or eat first? I should probably shower. Zara gestured at herself. I'm covered in street grime. Of course. This way. The guest room was bigger than Zara's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a garden with a koi pond, and the attached bathroom had a tub that could fit 3 people. Someone had laid out clothes on the bed, expensive brands in her size. How did you know my measurements? Zara asked Jihoon, who'd followed her to the room. I'm very observant. That's creepy. That's thorough. He leaned against the door frame, hands in his pockets. There's a panic button beside the bed. Press it if you need anything. I'm right next door. You don't have to stay that close. I'll be fine. I know. But I'm staying anyway. He left before she could argue, closing the door with a soft click. Zara sank onto the bed and let out a shaky breath. What had she gotten herself into? The shower helped clear her head even as the hot water made her injury sting. She dressed in the provided clothes, soft linen pants, and a silk blouse that felt like heaven against her skin. When she emerged, Mrs. Choi was waiting with a tray of food. Master Jihoon thought you might be hungry. Zara's stomach growled in response. She'd missed lunch during the chaos. Thank you. Is it okay if I eat in the garden? I need some air. Of course. I'll show you the way. The garden was peaceful, a deliberate contrast to the violence of the day. Zara sat on a stone bench beside the pond and picked at her food, watching koi glide through clear water. She should call her sister. Should explain why she wouldn't be answering her phone for a few days. But what could she possibly say? You look like you're trying to solve world hunger. Jihoon's voice came from behind her. Zara turned to find him approaching, changed into casual clothes that made him look younger, more approachable. Just thinking about how to explain this to my family without making them panic. Tell them you're on vacation. I've never taken a vacation in my life. Then tell them you met someone. He sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his body heat. It's not entirely untrue. We didn't meet. We collided. There's a difference. Is there? He turned to look at her, and Zara's heart stuttered at the expression in his eyes. Feels like fate to me. I don't believe in fate. Neither did I. Until today. They sat in silence for a moment, the air between them charged with something Zara didn't want to name. She should move away. Should put distance between herself and this dangerous man. Instead, she found herself leaning slightly closer. Why do you do it? She asked quietly. The crime family thing. You're smart, obviously educated. You could do anything. Legacy. His jaw tightened. My father built this empire from nothing. Died protecting it. I inherited not just his business, but his enemies, his debts, his wars. Walking away would dishonor his memory. Or maybe it would free you. Jihoon looked at her sharply. You don't understand. No, I don't. But I understand duty. I understand sacrifice. I left everything I knew to give my sister a chance at a better life. So don't tell me I don't understand burden. Something shifted in his expression. Softened. You're right. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just answer the question. If you could walk away, would you? He was quiet for so long Zara thought he wouldn't answer. Then I don't know. This life is all I've ever known. But lately I've been wondering if there's something else. Something better. His eyes met hers. Today, when I saw my mother on the ground and you bleeding beside her, I thought maybe I'd already found it. Zara's breath caught. Jihoon. I know it's insane. We just met. But there's something about you that makes me want to be different. Better. Someone worthy of the way you looked at me when I bandaged your arm. How did I look at you? Like I wasn't a monster. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Like I was just a man. Zara's hand moved before she could think, reaching up to touch his face. His skin was warm, the stubble on his jaw rough beneath her fingertips. He leaned into the touch like a man starving for gentleness. You're just a man, she said. A complicated, dangerous, impossibly beautiful man. But still just a man. Jihoon's eyes darkened. He caught her wrist gently, thumb brushing over her pulse point. Zara, if you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to do something we might both regret. Who says I'd regret it? The words hung between them, heavy with possibility. Then Jihoon was moving, one hand cupping her face as he leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met soft and questioning, a gentle exploration that sent heat flooding through Zara's body. Jihoon tasted like coffee and something uniquely him, and when his tongue traced the seam of her lips, she opened for him with a sigh. The kiss deepened, turned hungry. Jihoon's other hand found her waist, pulling her closer until she was practically in his lap. Zara's fingers tangled in his hair, and she felt more than heard the groan that rumbled through his chest. Someone cleared their throat loudly. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Minji stood on the garden path, arms crossed, eyebrow raised in what might have been amusement. I see you're settling in well, she said dryly. Zara's face burned. Mrs. Park. I'm sorry we weren't. Please. I'm not blind. Minji moved closer, studying them both with sharp eyes. Jihoon, don't you have security briefings to attend? Mother. Now, please. It wasn't a request. Jihoon stood, frustration evident in every line of his body. But he bowed slightly to his mother before meeting Zara's eyes. We'll talk later, he promised. When he was gone, Minji sat where he'd been, smoothing her skirt with careful precision. I didn't mean to cause trouble, Zara said. You didn't. My son did. Minji's expression was unreadable. Tell me honestly, Zara Mensah. What do you want from my family? Nothing. I didn't ask for any of this. I know. That's what makes you dangerous. Minji turned to face her fully. My son has never brought a woman to this house. Never looked at anyone the way he looks at you. In one afternoon, you've managed to crack the armor he's spent years building. I didn't try to. I know. That's what makes it real. Minji reached out and took her hand, the gesture becoming familiar. I see how you look at him too. Like you want to save him from himself. But you need to understand something about Jihoon. He's not some project you can fix. He's a man who has killed to protect what's his. Who has made choices that would horrify you if you knew the details. Zara's stomach tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because I like you. And I don't want you to get hurt when you realize the truth about what loving my son would mean. I'm not in love with him. We just met. Minji smiled sadly. I've lived a long time, child. I know what love looks like when it's beginning. And I know how quickly it can turn to ash in a world like ours. She stood, squeezing Zara's hand once before releasing it. Rest tonight. Tomorrow the real work of keeping you safe begins. And Zara? Whatever you decide about my son, decide quickly. Indecision in our world gets people killed. Dinner was a strange, formal affair. Zara sat at a long table with Jihoon and his mother, served by silent staff who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. The food was incredible, but she could barely taste it past the anxiety coiling in her stomach. Jihoon kept glancing at her, questions in his eyes that she couldn't answer. Because she didn't know what she wanted. Didn't know if the heat between them was real or just adrenaline and proximity and the intoxicating danger of his world. After dinner, she excused herself early, pleading exhaustion. It wasn't entirely a lie. Her body ached, and her mind felt like it was running in circles. She was changing into the silk pajamas someone had left out when her door opened without warning. Zara spun, heart leaping. Jihoon stood in the doorway, still dressed, jaw tight with tension. "You can't just barge into my room," she said, clutching the pajama top to her chest. "I knocked. You didn't hear me." His eyes traveled over her, taking in her state of undress, and something hungry flickered across his face before he controlled it. "We need to talk. Can it wait until I'm dressed?" "No." He closed the door behind him and leaned against it, arms crossed. Zara felt suddenly, acutely aware that she was half naked in a room with a man who looked at her like she was water, and he was dying of thirst. "My mother talked to you," Jihoon said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes. Let me guess. She warned you about me. Told you I'm dangerous. That being with me would destroy you. Something like that." "She's right." He pushed off the door and moved closer. "I am dangerous, Zara. Everything about my life is violent and complicated and wrong. You should run as far and fast as you can." "Then why are you here?" Zara's voice came out shakier than she intended. "Because I'm selfish." Another step. Now he was close enough to touch. "Because that kiss in the garden wasn't enough. Because I've spent the last 3 hours trying to convince myself to stay away from you, and clearly I failed." Zara's breathing had gone shallow. She should tell him to leave. Should protect herself from whatever this was. Instead, she heard herself ask, "What do you want, Jihoon?" "You." The word was raw honest. "I want you in every way a man can want a woman. But I also want you safe. And those two things are fundamentally incompatible in my world. Maybe I get to decide what risks I'm willing to take. Not this one. Not when I'm the danger." Zara set down the pajama top and closed the distance between them, tilting her chin up defiantly. "You keep telling me how dangerous you are. How broken. But all I see is a man trying desperately not to hurt me. That doesn't sound like a monster." Jihoon's control cracked. His hands came up to frame her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones with devastating tenderness. "Zara, please. I'm trying to do the right thing here. Maybe the right thing is letting us see where this goes. It goes nowhere good. It ends with you hating me or worse, dead because of me. Or maybe it ends with both of us finding something we didn't know we needed." She covered his hands with hers. "I'm not saying we rush into anything. I'm just saying don't decide for me what I can handle. You're asking me to be selfish. I'm asking you to be honest. Do you want this? Us. More than I've ever wanted anything. Then stop fighting it." He stared at her for a long moment, war evident in his expression. Then he bent and pressed his forehead to hers, eyes closed, breathing ragged. "You're going to ruin me," he whispered. "Good. Maybe you need ruining." He laughed, a broken sound. Then he kissed her, and this time there was no gentleness. It was claiming and desperate, his hands sliding into her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss. Zara wrapped her arms around his neck and held on, meeting his intensity with her own. They stumbled backward until her legs hit the bed. Jihoon followed her down, bracing himself on his forearms so his weight didn't crush her. The kiss turned slower, exploratory, learning the contours of each other's mouths. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jihoon rested his forehead against hers again. "This is a terrible idea," he murmured. "Probably. We're going to complicate everything. Definitely. I don't regret it. Neither do I. He rolled onto his back, pulling her against his side. Zara settled her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat thunder beneath her ear. Tell me about Ghana, he said quietly. About your life before Seoul. So she did. Talked about Accra's chaos and beauty, about her sister Amma's dreams of becoming a doctor, about their mother who died when Zara was 17 and left her to raise a 10-year-old alone. Talked about the decision to come to Korea, chasing better wages and the promise of a future. Jihoon listened without interrupting, his hand stroking slow patterns on her back. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met, he finally said. I'm not. I'm just stubborn. Same thing. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. I should go. Let you sleep. Stay. The words slipped out before Zara could stop it. Just until I fall asleep. She felt him tense, then relax. Okay. But Zara. Yeah. Tomorrow this gets complicated. My people will want to know who you are, why I'm protecting you so fiercely. And the enemies who tried to kill my mother will come looking. I know. I need you to promise me something. If it gets too dangerous, if I tell you to run, you don't argue. You just go. Zara lifted her head to look at him. I'm not leaving you to face danger alone. I can handle danger. What I can't handle is you getting hurt because of me. Then I guess you better make sure we both stay safe. He smiled despite himself. Stubborn. You like it? I really do. They fell asleep like that, tangled together on top of the covers, neither willing to acknowledge they'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Morning came too soon, sunlight streaming through windows Zara had forgotten to close. She woke alone, Jihoon's side of the bed cold. For a moment, she wondered if she'd dreamed the whole thing. Then she saw the note on the pillow. His handwriting was precise, controlled. Had to take care of something. Stay in the house. Please. Zara showered and dressed in clothes from the closet someone had stocked with her size, all quality brands she'd never be able to afford. When she ventured downstairs, Mrs. Choi greeted her with breakfast and a knowing smile. Master Jihoon said to tell you he'll be back this afternoon. Mrs. Park is in the garden if you'd like to join her. Zara found Minji trimming roses, a wide-brimmed hat shading her face. She looked up when Zara approached, expression unreadable. Did you sleep well? Minji asked. Yes, thank you. My son certainly seemed well-rested this morning. Almost cheerful, which is suspicious. Zara's face heated. Mrs. Park. Minji. If you're sleeping in my son's arms, we're past formalities. We didn't. It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? Minji set down her shears. Sit, child. We need to have a frank conversation. Zara sat on the garden bench, hands folded in her lap like a student called before the principal. I meant what I said yesterday about my son being dangerous, Minji began. But I also need to tell you something else. In all his 32 years, I've never seen Jihoon look at someone the way he looks at you. Like your heir, and he's been drowning. It's too fast. We barely know each other. Love doesn't follow timelines. My husband and I knew within a week. We had 40 years together before he was killed. Minji's eyes grew distant. 40 years wasn't enough. But I'd rather have had that time than nothing at all. I'm not sure what you're asking me. I'm not asking anything. I'm telling you that if you're going to break my son's heart, do it now. Before he's in so deep he can't recover. Minji's voice turned fierce. But if you think there's even a chance this could be real, then fight for it. Because our world will do everything possible to tear you apart. Why are you telling me this? Yesterday you warned me away. Yesterday I was protecting my son. Today I'm protecting both of you. Minji reached out and squeezed her hand. I see how you look at him too, Zara. Like he's worth saving. Maybe you're both exactly what the other needs. Before Zara could respond, shouting erupted from inside the house. Men's voices, urgent and angry. Minji's expression hardened instantly. Stay here, she commanded, already moving toward the house. But Zara had never been good at following orders. She followed at a distance, heart pounding. In the main hall, Jihoon stood surrounded by 4 men in suits, all talking at once in rapid Korean. His face was carved from stone, fury barely contained beneath the surface. One of the men grabbed his arm, and Jihoon moved. Fast. Lethal. In seconds, the man was on the ground, Jihoon's knee on his chest, a gun pressed to his temple. "Touch me again," Jihoon said in Korean, voice dead calm, "and I'll forget we're on the same side." The man raised his hands in surrender. Jihoon stood, tucking the gun back into his waistband like it was the most natural thing in the world. That's when he saw Zara standing in the doorway, eyes wide with shock. Something in his expression crumbled. "I told you to stay in the garden," he said, switching to English. "What's happening?" "Business. Nothing you need to worry about. You just held a gun to that man's head. He disrespected my authority. It won't happen again." Zara's hands were shaking. This was the reality Minji had tried to warn her about. This was the man beneath the tenderness, the violence that lived in his bones. She should be terrified. Should run, but looking at Jihoon's face, at the way his jaw clenched and his hands curled into fists at his sides, all she felt was a desperate need to understand. "Zara." His voice was rough. "Please go back outside." "No. If I'm part of this world now, I need to see all of it. Not just the parts you want to show me." The other men were watching them, curiosity and calculation in their eyes. Minji appeared behind Zara, placing a hand on her shoulder. "She's right," Minji said in Korean, then switched to English. "If she's staying, she needs to understand what that means." Jihoon's eyes blazed. "This isn't a game. This is my life. My responsibilities." "Then let me help you carry them," Zara said quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. Then one of the men spoke, his English heavily accented. "The girl who saved Madame Park. So this is why the young master has been distracted." "Careful," Jihoon said, the single word a warning. "I mean no disrespect. But the Kim family knows about her. They're asking questions. Making moves." The man's gaze flicked to Zara. "They think she's your weakness." "Then they're right." Jihoon didn't take his eyes off Zara. "And they should be very afraid of what I'll do to protect her." Another man stepped forward, older, with silver threading through his dark hair. "We need to move her somewhere more secure. The house has too many access points." "She's not moving anywhere," Jihoon snapped. "Then we increase security here. Double the guards, add surveillance." "Do it." The men filed out, leaving Jihoon alone with Zara and his mother. Minji squeezed Zara's shoulder once before following them, closing the door behind her with a soft click. Jihoon sagged against the wall, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. "You shouldn't have seen that." "Why?" "Because now I know you're exactly what you said you were." "Dangerous." "Because now you're looking at me like I'm something to be afraid of." Zara moved closer, studying his face. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid for you. There's a difference. You should be afraid of me, Zara. That gun isn't for show. I've used it. I've killed people who threatened my family. I'll do it again without hesitation." "I know. You say that, but you don't really understand. I'm not some misunderstood anti-hero from a drama. I'm a criminal. A killer. The worst kind of man for someone like you." "Someone like me?" Zara's voice sharpened. "You mean poor? African? A waitress who should know her place?" "No." Jihoon looked stricken. "God, no. I mean someone good. Someone who saves strangers and works 3 jobs for her sister and looks at the world like it still has beauty in it. You deserve better than me. Maybe I get to decide what I deserve." Zara closed the remaining distance between them. "Maybe I'm tired of people telling me what I should want or who I should be. I'm trying to protect you." "From what? Danger? I'm already in it." "From heartbreak? Too late." She placed her hand over his heart, feeling it race beneath her palm. "I'm already falling for you, Jihoon. And that terrifies me more than any gun." His hand came up to cover hers, pressing it harder against his chest. "Zara, I'm not asking for promises. I'm not asking you to change. I'm just asking you to let me decide for myself what risks are worth taking. This will end badly. Maybe. But what if it doesn't? What if we're the exception?" Jihoon pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her hair. She felt him trembling, felt the desperation in the way he held her. "I've never wanted to be someone's exception before," he whispered. "Never wanted anything beyond duty and revenge, and keeping the empire my father built intact. But you make me want impossible things." "Like what?" "Like mornings that don't start with violence. Like coming home to someone who sees me as more than a weapon. Like a future that isn't written in blood." Zara tilted her head back to look at him. "Those don't sound impossible. They sound human." "I'm not sure I remember how to be human." "Then I'll remind you." She kissed him, slow and deep, pouring everything she couldn't say into the connection between them. Jihoon responded with the kind of desperation that spoke of a man drowning and finally finding air. When they broke apart, his phone was buzzing insistently in his pocket. He ignored it. "You should answer that," Zara said. "I should. But I don't want to." He rested his forehead against hers. "Every time I leave you, I'm terrified something will happen. That I'll come back and you'll be gone." "I'm not going anywhere. Promise me." "I promise." The phone buzzed again. Jihoon cursed in Korean and pulled it out, his expression darkening as he read the message. "I have to go. There's a situation that requires my attention." He cupped her face. "Stay in the house. Don't open the door for anyone except me, my mother, or Mrs. Choi." "How long will you be gone?" "A few hours. Maybe longer." He kissed her once more, hard and possessive. "I'll come back to you. I always will." Then he was gone, leaving Zara alone in the suddenly too quiet house. The hours crawled by. Zara tried to read, to watch television, to distract herself from the anxiety coiling in her gut. But her mind kept replaying the scene from this morning, the casual violence in Jihoon's movements, the gun pressed to that man's head. This was his world. This was the reality of loving someone like him. Could she live with that? Could she be the kind of woman who accepted violence as part of daily life? She didn't know. But she knew she wanted the chance to find out. Evening fell, painting the garden in shades of gold and purple. Zara stood at the window watching darkness creep across the grounds when she heard footsteps behind her. "He'll be back soon," Minji said, coming to stand beside her. "He always comes back." "Does it get easier?" "The waiting?" "No. You just get better at hiding the fear." Minji's reflection in the glass looked tired. "I waited for my husband for 30 years. Every time he walked out that door, I wondered if it would be the last time I saw him alive." "How did you bear it?" "Because the alternative was living without him. And that was worse than any fear." Minji turned to face her. "Love in our world is a choice you make every day. To stay despite the danger. To trust despite the uncertainty. It's not for the faint of heart." "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "You threw yourself at a moving truck to save a stranger." "I think you're stronger than you know." A commotion erupted from the front of the house. Men shouting. Car doors slamming. Minji's expression hardened instantly. "Go to your room. Lock the door. Don't come out until Jihoon comes for you." "What's happening?" "Now, Zara." The command in her voice left no room for argument. Zara ran, heart pounding, footsteps echoing through empty hallways. She made it to her room and locked the door just as gunfire erupted downstairs. She pressed herself against the wall, hands shaking, mind racing. This was real. This was happening. Someone had breached the house. More gunfire. Shouting. The sound of things breaking. Zara grabbed her phone and dialed Jihoon's number with trembling fingers. He answered on the first ring. "Zara? Are you safe?" "Someone's in the house. They're shooting. I don't know where your mother is. Listen to me very carefully. There's a panic room behind the bookshelf in your bedroom. Third shelf from the top, pull the red book. The wall will open. Get inside and don't come out until I come for you." "What about Minji?" "She knows what to do. Now move." Zara found the book with shaking hands and pulled. The bookshelf swung inward, revealing a small reinforced room with monitors showing security feeds. She slipped inside just as her bedroom door shuddered under impact. Someone was trying to break in. On the monitors, she watched chaos unfold. Men in black fighting Jihoon's guards. Minji being hustled into another panic room by Mrs. Choi. And then Jihoon himself, bursting through the front entrance like avenging fury made flesh. He moved through the house like death incarnate, gun in one hand, knife in the other. Every movement was precise, lethal, beautiful in its brutality. Zara watched him take down 3 men in seconds, never hesitating, never showing mercy. This was who he really was. Not the gentle man who bandaged her wounds or held her while she slept. This was Kang Jihoon, heir to a criminal empire, a killer without conscience or regret. And God help her, she wasn't afraid. She was fascinated. The fighting moved through the house, getting closer to her room. On the monitor, she watched a man kick in her bedroom door and search the space. He found the panic room entrance within seconds. Zara's breath caught. The door was reinforced, but how long would it hold? The man pulled out a phone and made a call. Seconds later, 2 more appeared with tools. They were going to cut through. On another monitor, Jihoon fought his way up the stairs. But there were too many enemies, too much distance. He wouldn't make it in time. Zara looked around the panic room. No weapons. No way out. Just her and the knowledge that she'd promised Jihoon she wouldn't leave him. She hit the intercom button. You want me? I'll come out. Just leave everyone else alone. Zara, no. Jihoon's voice came through the speakers, raw with panic. Stay where you are. That's an order. I'm not one of your soldiers. I don't take orders. She looked directly at the camera, knowing he could see her. I won't let people die because of me. If you open that door, I will never forgive you. Yes, you will. Because you understand sacrifice. She smiled sadly. I'm coming out. Zara, please. I'm begging you. Stay. I love you, she said. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. She hit the release button before he could respond. The door opened and hands immediately grabbed her, yanking her into the bedroom. A man pressed a gun to her temple, his smile vicious. Tell your boss we have her, he said into his radio. Jihoon appeared in the doorway, and the transformation in his expression was terrifying. All the warmth, all the humanity drained away, leaving only cold calculation and promised violence. Let her go. His voice was dead calm, which somehow made it more frightening. Let her go and you walk out of here alive. That's the only deal I'm offering. I don't think so. The man's grip on Zara tightened. You're going to order your men to stand down. Then we're walking out of here with the girl. Once we're clear, maybe we'll let her go. You really think I'm that stupid? Jihoon took a step forward. You really think I'll let you take her? You don't have a choice. I always have a choice. Jihoon moved. Fast. A knife flew through the air, burying itself in the shoulder of the man holding Zara. His grip loosened for just a second, and Zara dropped, making herself as small as possible. Gunfire exploded. Zara covered her ears and closed her eyes, unable to watch. She felt bodies fall around her, heard Jihoon's voice shouting orders in Korean. Then strong hands pulled her up and into a familiar embrace. You're safe, Jihoon said against her hair, his whole body shaking. You're safe. I've got you. Zara wrapped her arms around him and held on, feeling him trembling as badly as she was. I'm sorry. I couldn't just hide while people died for me. You promised you'd stay safe. I promised I wouldn't leave you. I kept that promise. He pulled back to look at her, and his eyes were bright with unshed tears. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever put yourself in danger for me. Then don't ask me to watch you die while I hide. She cupped his face. We're in this together, remember? That means we protect each other. This is why I tried to warn you away. This is the reality of my world. Violence and death and constant fear. I know. And I'm still here. You're insane. Probably. He kissed her, desperate and claiming, tasting of fear and relief and something that felt dangerously like love. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I can't lose you, he whispered. I won't survive it. Then don't lose me. Keep me. Make me yours in every way that matters. Zara. I mean it. Whatever this is between us, I want all of it. The danger, the fear, the impossible love. I want you, Jihoon. All of you. You don't know what you're asking. I do. And I'm still asking. He stared at her for a long moment, war evident in his expression. Then he nodded once. Okay, but we do this my way. You learn to protect yourself. You learn the rules of my world. And you never, ever take a risk like that again without telling me first. Deal. I'm serious, Zara. You scared 10 years off my life. Good. Maybe that will motivate you to stay safe too. Despite everything, he laughed. You're going to be the death of me. Or the saving of you. We'll see. The cleanup took hours. Bodies removed, blood scrubbed from floors, explanations given to authorities who were clearly on the family payroll. Zara sat with Minji in the garden, both of them wrapped in blankets despite the warm evening, sharing tea and silence. You told him you love him, Minji said finally. You heard that. The whole house heard it. You weren't exactly quiet. Minji's smile was sad. He hasn't said it back yet, has he? No. But that's okay. He will when he's ready. My son isn't good with words. He's spent too long speaking through violence. But I've seen how he looks at you. He may not say it, but he feels it. I know. They sat in comfortable silence until Jihoon appeared, cleaned up and changed, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. He sat beside Zara and pulled her against his side. The Kim family has been dealt with, he said quietly. They won't come after you again. Dealt with how? Zara asked. Do you really want to know? She thought about it, then shook her head. Some truths were better left unspoken. The threat is neutralized, Minji said. That's what matters. But Zara, you need to understand something. This won't be the last time. There will always be enemies. Always be danger. That's the price of loving someone like my son. I understand. Do you? Minji's gaze was sharp. Because understanding and living it are two different things. Then I'll learn as I go. Zara looked up at Jihoon. We both will. He kissed the top of her head, the gesture tender despite the violence of the day. You should rest. It's been a long day. Will you stay with me? I'm not letting you out of my sight for the next week at minimum. Possessive. Terrified. There's a difference. They said goodnight to Minji and retreated to Zara's room. Someone had cleaned it, removed all evidence of the intrusion. It looked exactly as it had this morning, like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Zara showered, washing away the day's fear and adrenaline. When she emerged, Jihoon was sitting on the bed, head in his hands. Hey! She sat beside him. What's wrong? I keep seeing it. That man with a gun to your head. How close I came to losing you. He looked at her, and his eyes were devastated. I can't do that again, Zara. I can't almost lose you and survive it. You didn't lose me. I'm right here. But what about next time? What if I'm not fast enough? What if I make the wrong call? His hands were shaking. What if I get you killed because you chose to love me? Zara took his hands in hers, holding them steady. Then at least I'll have died living instead of just surviving. I've spent 3 years in Seoul keeping my head down, working myself to death, never taking chances. You make me want to live, Jihoon. Really live. Is that so terrible? When it puts you in danger? Yes. But I get to decide what risks are worth taking. And you're worth it. This is worth it. She brought his hands to her lips, kissing each knuckle. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Promise? I promise. He pulled her into his lap, wrapping his arms around her like she might disappear if he let go. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, finding comfort in shared heartbeats and the simple fact of survival. I do love you, Jihoon finally said against her hair. I'm terrified of it, but I do. You've become necessary to me in a way nothing else ever has. Zara's breath caught. Say it again. I love you, Zara Mensah. I love your strength and your stubbornness and the way you look at me like I'm worth saving. I love that you ran toward danger to save my mother. I love that you're here despite every reason you shouldn't be. He pulled back to look at her. I love you, and it terrifies me because now I have something to lose. Then we'll just have to make sure we don't lose each other. That's the plan. She kissed him, soft and sweet, a promise of all the tomorrows they'd fight for together. When they lay down, still wrapped around each other, Zara felt something settle in her chest. Something that felt like peace. "Tell me about the future," she said quietly. "The one you want." Jihoon was silent for a moment, fingers tracing patterns on her back. "I want mornings with you. Coffee and conversation, and not checking for threats every 5 seconds. I want to take you back to Ghana, meet your sister, see where you came from. I want to build something with you that isn't based on fear or survival." "That sounds nice." "It sounds impossible." "Maybe. But maybe we're good at impossible things." He huffed a quiet laugh. "Maybe we are." They fell asleep like that, tangled together, hearts beating in sync. Outside, guards patrolled and security systems hummed. But inside, in that moment, they were just two people who'd found something rare and precious in the middle of chaos. And they'd fight like hell to keep it. 3 months later, Zara stood in the cafe where it all began, wiping down tables during the afternoon lull. Mrs. Han watched her with knowing eyes. "That man still picks you up every evening," she said. "Very handsome. Very dangerous." "Very mine," Zara replied with a smile. As if summoned, Jihoon's motorcycle pulled up outside. He'd started coming in his casual clothes now, leaving the expensive suits at home. Making an effort to be normal, or as normal as someone like him could be. He entered the cafe and smiled when he saw her, the expression transforming his whole face. Zara's heart still stuttered every time. "Ready to go?" he asked. "Almost. Let me grab my things." In the back room, she pulled off her apron and grabbed her bag. Jihoon followed her, closing the door behind them. "I have something for you," he said. "What is it?" He pulled out a small box and Zara's breath caught. "Jihoon, before you panic, it's not that kind of box. Not yet anyway." He opened it to reveal a delicate bracelet, silver with a single charm. A small shield engraved with Korean characters. "What does it say?" Zara asked. "Protected. Always." He fastened it around her wrist. "So everyone knows you're mine to protect." "Possessive." Hopelessly. He pulled her close. "I love you." "I love you too." They kissed, slow and sweet, the kind of kiss that promised forever despite all the reasons forever seemed impossible. "Come on," Jihoon said against her lips. "My mother is making dinner. If we're late, she'll lecture us about disrespecting food. Can't have that." They walked out together, and Zara waved goodbye to Mrs. Han. The older woman shook her head but smiled, clearly pleased despite her stern expression. On the motorcycle, Zara wrapped her arms around Jihoon's waist and rested her cheek against his back. The city rushed past, full of noise and light and possibility. She'd come to Seoul looking for survival. Instead, she'd found something infinitely more precious. She'd found love in the most unexpected place, with the most unexpected person. And despite the danger, despite the fear, despite everything that made it impossible, she wouldn't change a single moment. Because sometimes fate doesn't ask permission. Sometimes it just collides with you on a crowded street and changes everything. Sometimes it looks like a moving truck and a split-second decision. Sometimes it looks like a dangerous man with gentle hands and a heart he'd forgotten how to use. Sometimes fate looks exactly like love. And Zara Mensah, cafe waitress from Ghana, had learned to embrace fate with both hands and never let go. The end.